So, welcome everyone to the World Water Wedding Open Call. Thanks for coming. I'm Jenny, I'm part of the Dirty Water Group, and this evening I'll be telling you all about how you can get involved in the World Water Wedding campaign. We'll hear from Meg Avan, Bristol-based writer and campaigner, who is the amazing inspiration for the World Water Wedding. And on tech today, we have Boo, Denise, Matthew, Peter, and Ned. Thanks to them. I'm going to hand over to Ned now briefly to go through some housekeeping and a short explanation of why XR Dirty Water are running the World Water Wedding.
Thanks, Jenny. So just a bit of tech housekeeping. Closed captions are available. If you want to switch them on and you're on a computer, you can do that on your bottom bar, or if you're on a phone or a tablet, tap your screen and that'll bring up the menu options. If you do have any tech issues, please message into the chat and we will help where we can. Also, add any questions you've got into the chat and then we can move those to a document to make it easier to keep a record. Hopefully, we will be able to answer all your questions this evening, but if we can't, we'll do our best to answer them after this call, and we'll add the answers to the World Water Wedding book on the Rebel Toolkit. After this call, you will receive a follow-up email with some links. 1, to the recording of this call. 2, to the slides that we'll be sharing this evening. 3, a link to that book, the World Water Wedding book on the Rebel Toolkit, which has got everything in it you need. And also a link to the Dirty Water live content and chat on Telegram, just in case you want to get involved on Telegram and ask questions and chat to other people. So why is XR Dirty Water running this campaign? I went to see Rave on for the Avon, a documentary a few months ago. It's a great film, highly recommend it. But what really grabbed me was Meg's wedding at the end. It made me think about my relationship with water, how I love being near the sea, how swimming makes me feel alive, rejuvenated, refreshed, how exciting I find rainstorms, how there's nothing I like better than a cold glass of water on a boiling hot day, but also how privileged I am to have clean water at the turn of a tap. Soon after seeing Rave on for the Avon, I watched Sir David Attenborough's film Ocean. And his words at the end of the film about being near the end of his life and the realization that without water, life doesn't exist, really hit home. XR Dirty Water is a group that's really close to my heart, and we decided to create the World Water Wedding campaign in the hope that XR local groups feel it's something they can get involved with, but also to develop it into a global day of action next year. Some of you know that the mainstream media has done a lot of the groundwork for us. They've informed the public of the terrible state of our waterways. They've highlighted the water companies' outrageous behaviour and the unfair increases in our water bills. That makes XR outreach and engaging the public so much easier when we talk about those issues. And a campaign like World Water Wedding has the potential to build communities, to activate those who wouldn't usually take non-violent direct action, and empower people through assemblies and deliberative democracy to discuss their local water issues and decide together on how they want to take things forward. Thanks. I'll pass back to Jenny.
Thanks for that, Ned. That's really great. And I'm super excited for all those reasons to present this campaign and the series of actions to you all today. We're going to tell you everything you need to know today and point you in the direction of loads of resources you can use when you're planning your actions. At the end of the session, there'll be time for some fishy questions if you still have any. So, what is the World Water Wedding? It's the ask for everyone, for you, to make a personal and very public commitment to water. Why? Because water sustains all life, and it's time that we acknowledge the damage that is being done to our water and collectively decide to honour and protect it. We want to bring people together across the world in celebration of water to commit to their chosen water source using wedding ceremonies. The ambition is to grow this campaign towards a global day of weddings on the 22nd of March next year. And we've chosen this day as it's the international date for World Water Day. As was said earlier, the inspiration for this campaign stemmed from Meg Avon marrying the Bristol Urban Avon in 2023. If you haven't seen it yet, look out for the wonderful documentary that Ned mentioned earlier. You can also watch Meg's appearance on UK Breakfast TV this morning, last April, where she so eloquently talks about her commitment. So what do we think we should do? We're asking people to choose a water source, and this could be anything: a river, a stream, lake, pond, ocean, sea, could be a glacier, rain, aquifer, even a puddle. Whatever calls to you. And we'd like you to commit to that water source by publicly announcing your engagement on Sunday, the 24th of August, and then marrying that water source in March 2026. As Ned mentioned, water, and polluted water particularly, is a topic that's really resonating with people right across the world and the political spectrum at the moment. So we feel this really is a perfect opportunity to reach new people in your communities in an original and creative way. Imagine how people are going to react when you tell them that you're marrying water. We're delighted to have Meg here with us today, and she can tell us a little bit more about that experience and about her wonderful wedding. First of all, you'll see a short video, and then Meg's going to introduce herself. Over to you, Meg.
Dirty Water invites everyone to commit to water. We need water, and water needs us to protect it. We've polluted and wasted water for far too long. It's time to take action and change our toxic relationship. We can all vow to honour water and help heal our relationship with it through joyous celebrations and commitment ceremonies. World Water Week runs from Sunday, the 24th of August, 2025. In this week, we want you to make your engagements public. What body of water have you chosen to be your beloved? Or what body of water do you feel has chosen you? And then next spring, March 22nd, 2026, we will be hosting a global day of action, World Water Wedding Day. This is the time to really celebrate, to really make noise, bang drums, sing songs, get as many people on board with this idea as you can. You can hold your wedding ceremony by water or in water, or outside your local council offices, outside Parliament. The more of us that marry water in unusual and daring places, the stronger our connections can be everywhere. And the more likely it will be that the media will cover your big day and give that story the reach it needs.
Hi everyone, thanks for having me. Thanks XR and Dirty Water. It's a really exciting campaign to be a part of and an honour to be here. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about my story and my wedding. I've got a little slideshow with some extra pictures and then I'll hand it back to Jenny. But yeah, my name's Meg. I'm from Bristol and I grew up here. I moved away for a while. I lived by Brighton, by the sea in Brighton, and that's when I started swimming regularly every day. And swimming's always been a very important part of my life. wild swimming. I didn't know it was called that for most of my childhood. It's just something that me and my family did whenever we got together, whenever there was a celebration, whenever we needed cheering up. We always called it the blue gene or the faulty gene. And people thought that we were a bit strange, that we wanted to jump into cold water. And then I moved back to Bristol in lockdown, and at a similar time to many other people, I discovered a body of water closer to my house than I thought existed, where I could swim outdoors, which I'd never thought of growing up was possible. I'd always thought that the Avon was a bit of a bad boy. Was really dirty and unsafe, and so tidal and muddy and full of rats, and yeah, it was not good. And then I discovered this spot that you've just seen some images of me in the water, where people were swimming, and they were swimming regularly, and they were putting their heads under. And like many humans, when they observe other humans doing a thing, you think, oh, it's an okay thing to do. And I started swimming, and it saved me in lots of ways at that weird time, as water always has. And it was really special to be able to connect with a body of water that I had grown up near and never had that kind of relationship to. And then people ask me why I decided to marry the river, and I can never quite remember, which is why I like to say that I think the water actually proposed to me. So I'm sure a lot of you are already here because you feel like you have that strong connection to some kind of body of water. So maybe in a way you have already been asked and you are already engaged. So I'll talk a bit more about that. I'll just share my screen so you can see a few more pictures of my wedding and everything that's happened in subsequent years. So it was 2 years ago that I got married, June 2023. And this was me on my wedding day, standing next to my beloved. My dress was from a charity shop, but I had a friend who I'll talk about more in a bit, who distressed my dress because it felt a bit wrong to be wearing a white dress. Both my parents walked me down the aisle. I had all my friends there as my maids of honor. And that picture on the right is a very dear friend of mine who's a funeral celebrant who hosted the ceremony of my wedding. And it's quite important to think who you'd like to hold the ceremony, because you don't want to be standing up on the altar alone, whatever kind of altar you may or may not choose to have. And then to allow space for you to have your vows and for your voice to be heard and that story to be felt. I think the celebrant, holds a lot of magic there. And she's really inspired me, and I'm in training at the moment. She's my mentor to become a celebrant myself, because this was my very first wedding that I'd ever been to. And I've been to quite a few in the last 2 years, and maybe I'm just lucky, but I've loved every single one. And I really, really value a ceremonial space that is entirely focused on joy and love and connection and two communities coming together. And I talk about my wedding all the time, as since marrying the river, I've quit my job as a youth and community worker and become a full-time writer and campaigner, which is pretty cool. This film has helped a lot with getting the story out there, Avon for the Avon. So if you look at the link I just put in the chat and see if there's any screenings local to you, I'd really recommend going. And you can also ask to host your own community screening, because it just is such a celebration of what a river can do for a community and various bodies of water. Not just rivers, but there's something special about the way they slice through our pockets of civilization, and people can gather on both banks and you can see to the other side of it, and it feels like a body that you can know, but also it's so unfathomably distant in both directions, linking to the sea and the big blue planet that we live on. I just think it's a really interesting size and shape for humans to be in relationship with. And obviously I married this section of the river, but you can't really ask water to be still. And the river is moving constantly throughout all of your bodies of water that you've all probably got in your mind right now. So we're actually all about to enter into a pretty open relationship, I've just realised, because all water is quite connected. But maybe that's a conversation for a different day. But the film was really special, I think, because it allows you to be submersed in water. You know, we had incredible camera women that have been working with David Attenborough and on those different documentaries about the ocean with their submersible cameras. So we were underwater, and then there's this incredible aerial shot as well. It's not letting me go to the next one. There we go. And then it flies up, and there's these shots of the whole of Bristol, and just the way the river carves through it, and to give people that perspective of the intimacy of being up close to the water, the size of a human in that sense of scale, and then the city and the community that lives within that above. And then obviously there's all the links with Ophelia and deathliness, and there's so much I could say about what it's felt like to be a bride and to give yourself away, and female sacrifice and consent. It's been a pretty major journey for me, and it's been challenging as well as wonderful. I'm not going to lie that it's easy, but I'm sure if any of you are married, you might resonate with that. But for the most part, it is for the greater good, and you never feel alone. So this is my baby. This was my first collection of poetry that I self-published earlier this year. And that was because I was going to go on tour with Raven for the Avon film. And they said, you want to have something on the merch stand? And I've always written poetry, but never thought it was going to be a career. And I'll talk about this later, but I actually broke my leg on the banks of the River Avon on my anniversary pilgrimage last June. And that came at a very interesting time in my life where I was about to leave my job and wasn't sure what I was going to do. And I had some rest time and managed to put this collection together. And then I've been up and down the country all year reading poems out to lots of lovely, lovely audiences. And it's been incredible how much the river has given me a platform for my creativity and a voice, because I suppose part of my original intention with marrying the river was I want to come forward as an advocate. How do I do that? And not everyone needs to put on a wedding dress. There's lots of other different ways that people can be river guardians or water guardians. But I decided to do it in quite a public way. And I wanted to help the water have a voice. And I didn't really realize how much the water was going to help me have a voice. It's also been really lovely to collaborate with so many different artists. I don't know if it's the inspiration the water brings or community action, but I've just worked with so many wonderful artists this year, and this picture is the middle page spread of my poetry collection, and was drawn by my very good school friend from Bristol, Jemima, who also did my wedding dress. So that's just one example of one of the artists I've worked with, but I could talk for a long time about many more. This is Charlotte, the director of the film, Raven for the Avon, and we've been touring for many months and visiting loads of communities all around the UK. We'd arrive, we'd swim, we'd chat, they'd watch the film, and then we'd do a Q&A. And I was lucky enough to be on panels with politicians and charity members and activists and scientists, like all different kinds of people, and really learning a lot from just being shoulder to shoulder with them and part of the Q&A discussions. And often the audiences were filled with experts as well. So again, it's that, like, the power of voice, the power of being seen, the power of sharing that story, that the weddings really spun me into that world. Because I guess a wedding in itself is a performance, and that performance just seems to have carried on. And for me, the way it's managed to stay sustainable, I was, I've been involved in activism and different campaigns in the past, but never for as long as I have in this one, because I just keep bringing it back to love and joy and companionship. And it's so easy to get distracted by what you feel angry and upset about with what's going on in the world. And you can bang those drums in an angry way to raise awareness, but at the end of the day, you're not going to be able to be in it for that much longer sustainably, because there's only so long someone can speak without being listened to that you need to stop speaking. So that's why I think this could be a really successful campaign, and really healing for us on an individual scale, a community level, national and even international. And the film, it's a very localized film about a particular campaign group in Bristol, but it really spoke to everyone that we went to in North Wales, Yorkshire, West Coast, East Coast, all along the South. We haven't gone to Scotland yet, but we'd really like to. Obviously, they've got different laws up there. But it's also been screened at international film festivals in France, and Charlotte took the film to Colombia. And it's got personability. And I think it's really valuable, focusing on ceremony, because the wedding is the end scene. That shot of me lying in the water is the last scene. And I think to end on that note of love, whilst also there being this kind of funeric aspect to the whole ceremony, because the river is dying. I'm marrying a dying river. And to have, weddings and funerals are kind of, in the Western world at least, the last two ceremonies that we really have, where we come together and speak publicly about how we feel. And I'm getting tingles just thinking about it. I think there is an awakening and a revival at the moment of different ceremonial practices of our indigenous community here. And obviously it's been happening in New Zealand and Canada and lots of other different indigenous communities around the world for a long time. And we're just coming around to it now. And the focus, when I speak to different people, I've just done a law course, an earth law course with people from all around the world. And rights for nature is the fastest growing legal movement in the world. And in UK, it is river-based, it's water-based. So I think it's really, really powerful to focus on this right now. It's not letting me. Okay, this was just one of the weird directions that this campaign took me in, where I ended up on British morning television trying to TV presenters Dermot O'Leary and Alison Hammond in a wedding dress. And I remember that the week before, when I was asked to go on this, I felt really stressed about whether it was going to be helpful for the campaign or not, or if it was just going to make me look ridiculous and make the campaign look silly. And I didn't know who to talk to about it, because no one could understand the embarrassment I might feel. Or I wasn't getting the advice that I needed. And I remember I got a jar of the river and sat down and had breakfast with the river. And I was like, babe, is this helpful? So remember that you can always talk to your beloved, and I'm sure you all do in your own ways. There is communication there. And I do think those small, intimate connections and conversations with water are just as important as the big public ones that people like me are suddenly making a career out of. And it's a whole spectrum. So you don't need to think that you need to do it just how I'm doing it, because it's pretty original. I Googled it. There has been no UK River Bride as of yet, according to Google. But it'd be really exciting if there was many more, so that I could have more people to call for advice. This last page is, I think it's the last page. One of them is about pilgrimage, and that's been a very, very important part of this whole campaign for me. I walked to Avon Mouth on my honeymoon, which I don't know if any of you have ever been there, but it's a bit of a strange place, with big factories and Tesla car parks. And yes, the first time I walked there, it was very, very strange. This is when I walked there earlier this year with a campaign group in Bath called We Are Avon, who I've just got a new job with, organising river guardianship groups all up and down the Avon, which is very exciting. And that pilgrimage was lovely to be with a group, but I've done many others on my own. And this picture on the right of me with the lovely fireman is those are the people that rescued me when I broke my leg on pilgrimage on my 1 year anniversary, just outside Chippenham, where I had to wait for 7 hours to be rescued, and had a very interesting day watching the river rise and fall with the rain, watching kingfishers fly by, and wondering what my beloved was trying to tell me here. But again, I can't promise that the partnership is going to be straightforward. Same with any marriage. But often from the stress and the struggle and what feels very negative at the time, new things can be born. And as we all know, the water always finds a way around the boulders or through the boulders. And yeah, it was in this rest time that I wrote my poetry book. So I'd really recommend pilgrimaging. Pilgrimaging to the source is very powerful. Pilgrimaging to the mouth, if you can do it in sections, if you do it with people, if you do it with alone, all on your own, really important. And yeah, I don't know if you know, but we only have access to 3% of our riverbanks in the UK right now. And that definitely feels true on the pilgrimages that I've done. And I've done a lot of trespassing, which I don't. Well, yeah, no, I'm encouraging you to trespass, because not only do you build on your relationship with water, you build on your relationship with the landscape that you live in and that your beloved water runs through. And it is criminal how little of that we have access to. And I think if we all had more access to water, then we would all have stronger relationships to water, and the unconsentful, horrific things that are happening to water in the UK right now would not be happening. So that's one thing that I would definitely recommend is pilgrimage. Also, when you get to the source and the mouth, you think, this isn't the end. There is no end to water. It just keeps going round. And I think that really helps with your relationship to space, but also time, because you're connecting with all the ancestors that have dipped to the water before you and all of the generations to come. The next part of the campaign has taken the form of a giant puppet. I was trying to think of ways to allow the wider community to build a relationship to the spirit of the river that I felt such a strong connection to, but not everyone does because of access, like I was just saying. And I decided to get some puppeteers together, and we've just finished yesterday making, so this is, the picture on the right is Avona, our Spirit of the River Avon puppet, and we will be having a birthing ceremony for her tomorrow at the river, and we'll be taking her to lots of different festivals, protests, events, just to kind of bring the river alive and bring the river to the people if people are finding it hard to get to the river for whatever reason. And the picture on the left is one of our parades that we did for Avon for the Avon. And behind me, I'm at the front there holding a vase of my beloved Avon. I often say they to the river, because I think itting the river is really helped, push apart that distance between kinship of humans and other living life forms. I often say the river is gender fluid. So that might be something you want to consider, because I know other campaigners in different parts of the country, they feel very strongly that the Thames is a she, for example, and the sea is often a she. And I think language is really, really important when we think about these things. And legal personhood status was definitely something on my mind when I married the river, which is an attribute that businesses and corporations currently have in the UK, but rivers don't. Ships have it. So, for example, in the slave trade, a ship carrying a boatload of slaves had rights, but none of the slaves on the ship did. But the term personhood, I think, is still causing unease amongst the majority of the population, and particularly politicians. So we're trying to think about how to, rehearse the right kind of language when speaking with different groups of people. So I really encourage you to think about that. But the puppet standing behind me there is the goddess of the Wye, who some of you might be familiar with, because it's a member of XR, one of the rebels inside, Kim Chaos, an excellent puppet maker. And that puppet really inspired me to make Goddess Avona, because Goddess of the Wise is so peaceful, and I know the Avon, and the Avon is not always peaceful. And I think, especially with everything that I've experienced being the bride and that female sacrificial part of it that I talked about, I really wanted to embody some female wrath energy, which Avona does so well already. I'm really excited to get her out and about in town tomorrow, and at Green Man Festival, if any of you are there. This weekend we'll be doing a water ceremony from the river to the cinema tent, where we'll be doing a screening of Avon. And here's me swimming with founder of our local campaign group, Conham Bathing, who are a citizen science group that measure the water. And the film talks about that story a lot, where we tried and failed to get designated bathing water status for our river. And now they've just self-formed and are doing it themselves and regularly testing the water once a week throughout the year and letting the public know whether it's safe to swim in or not. But I just put this in because I need to remind myself more than anything, and to all of you, that it's really important, as I'm sure you're all aware, that even if you do make a public display of this affection of yours and do a marriage or a wedding, you still need to find time to work on your personal and intimate relationship with the river. And every time I'm feeling stressed by this campaign and getting twisted in making websites and getting legal advice and speaking to politicians and trying to do Instagram posts, I go to the river, and it really does help ground me in a watery way and give that sense of perspective and help me keep going, because I definitely feel like I'm on a strange rivery path that I had no idea would be taking me the places it's taken me when I decided to get married 2 years ago. But yeah, I'm really excited to see the creation, because it's a creative process, putting a wedding together, putting any event together. You're curating it, and there's so many different ways to do it, obviously. So yeah, let me know if any of you need a celebrant. I'll be putting up details on my website. Well, you can send me an email here, follow me on Instagram, and the Avonas is the puppet Instagram as well, if you want to follow her and the different places she goes and the heads she turns. But she has such presence and prowess. I'm really excited. So yes, thank you very much. I'm looking forward to answering your questions later. I'll just stop sharing.
Thanks so much, Meg. That's really great. Thank you. So I'm sure you're all thinking, this is amazing. How can I get involved? So I'm going to tell you. So let's have a look at the key dates for the action. So we have 3 main dates: Sunday, the 24th of August, Sunday, the 28th of September, and Sunday, the 22nd of March. These all coincide with international dates. And by linking these up with World Water Wedding, we're hoping that it will help the campaign to go global. So we kick off on the 24th of August, when people announce their engagement to their chosen water sources. Excuse me. So you can do this as an individual, as Meg did, or you could do it with a group of friends or an entire XR local group, whatever works for you. This is very much about leaving it open to your creativity. Large group engagements and weddings will be impactful and will also give people a sense of community. And this is your first opportunity to make your commitments public, to announce your engagements everywhere you possibly can, and send out your wedding invitations to your phone and email contacts, on social media, your local press, TV, radio, change your status on Facebook. Basically treat this as if it were a real engagement and exciting news that you want to share with everyone. Then ask others to do the same, to get engaged to their favourite body of water or to come along to your ceremony. Get local community groups to also make their commitments. Ask everyone to join you in wording their water or as a guest at your ceremony. Then follows a month of watery actions running through to Saturday, the 27th of September. I'm going to give you some more information and ideas in a minute about what this might involve, but it can literally be anything from just making some noise around your water source, having pop-up people's assemblies to discuss local water issues, and even spicy actions of trespass and occupation, as Meg mentioned. The great thing about this action for us is that it really can include absolutely everyone, any age, any group, and it can be whatever and wherever you want it to be. On Sunday, the 28th of September, which coincides with World Rivers Day, you can hold ceremonies of a different kind. If you want, they can still be celebratory, but you might want to grieve for the harm that's been caused to your water with a funeral-style ceremony. The important thing is that we invite others to take part so that they have the space to express their feelings. And of course, to use the day to remind people and ask them to spread the word far and wide about mass global weddings in March 2026. Which brings me on nicely to your big day. On Sunday, the 22nd of March 2026, we'd like people all over the world to make their public vows to water. This doesn't have to be a traditional wedding. We've got loads of ideas for you, and it can be any ceremony you want. We have time to share some ideas, but we'd also hope there's time for you to share your ideas too. So, a little bit more information about your engagement. The important thing here is to remember that today is about making noise, both literally and also metaphorically spreading the word. So the date coincides with the start of World Water Week, and this year's World Water Week is focused on water for climate action, which is obviously right up our street, and links care for water with the need for climate action. Use this focus of water for climate action to raise awareness of the climate and nature emergency and the impacts on water specifically. These types of big campaigns need funding, and if people want to give you engagement presents, we'd like you to politely suggest that these could be donations to XR to help with the costs of future campaigns and actions, and I'll mention this again later. For the next month, it's about creating as much excitement, publicity, and noise around your commitments and water sources as possible. Dirty Water has loads of ideas to get you started, but this is an opportunity to get creative and get the whole of your community involved. We've got family-friendly actions such as storytelling and songs, pandemonium, where we create a cacophony of noise, seeds of change and dream boats, all the way through to creative actions, including catch of the day and paint the streets, and then more spicy actions such as citizens arrest, mass trespass, blockades, and occupations. Imagine blockading and occupying water premises or any premises with everyone wearing wedding dresses, for example. There's loads you can do here. Those who pollute our water with raw sewage and collude in cover-ups, whoever you've identified as a threat to your beloved water source, basically, need to be held to account. And I'll talk in more detail about these actions when we come to the resources we've put together. Just a reminder that for some of the spicier actions, you'll probably need to get legal guidance and in some cases, legal briefings. And XR Legal can be contacted on the email address at the bottom here, xr-legal@riseup.net. Also taking place during this month is the Great UK Water Blitz, which takes place from Friday the 19th to Monday the 22nd of September. This is where people are encouraged to test for pollution in their chosen water source. You could do this in preparation for your wedding, and then you could share the results, for example, with your witnesses and your guests. Okay, so the closing ceremonies. These close our month of action on Sunday, the 28th of September, and this coincides with World Rivers Day. You can use it to make commitments and implement any of the action ideas from that month of action we just discussed, or you can create your own. And again, the idea here is to make as much noise and get as much publicity as possible for your wedding and for your chosen water source. Then the big day. World Water Day is always on the 22nd of March, but next year it happens to land conveniently on a Sunday as if it were planned. So this is perfect because this can be a day for joy, fun, celebration, creatively bringing communities together around water and for you to publicly make your vows to committing to water for life. As you can see here in the picture, and as you saw in the video, for Meg's wedding, there was so much creativity. And this is something that we think is super exciting about this campaign, because it can be exactly what you want it to be. After all, it's your big day, so you should be in control here. As we saw with Meg's wedding as well, this creativity really resonated with the press. Obviously, there was an appearance on this morning. And the wider community as well, I think, is really attracted by this kind of creative ceremony. So hopefully that can help us send this global. To help you create your vows and ceremonies, there are loads of resources drawn from different cultures and religions. And you can base your ceremony on these or do something totally different. It's completely up to you. Now, no wedding would be complete without the wedding presents. And again, we're asking people to donate to XR in celebration of your big day. I know I've mentioned fundraising twice and we don't really ever discuss it, but it is super important to generate practical support for our actions and keep us afloat. We don't just do actions to raise money, obviously. This action, for example, has a much wider message around water and its importance to all life. But we see the tradition of giving engagement and wedding presents as a bit of an in to ask people to donate to the cause. We've created a short link that you can see here and a QR code that you can just include on your wedding invites, flyers, posters, social media, etc., to make it as easy as possible to ask people for financial support, which we do understand is a really difficult thing to do. So talking of posters and flyers, we've put together so many resources for you to help you with this campaign. We've got invitations, posters, vows, stencils, you name it. And this can all be found in one place on the Rebel Toolkit in the World Water Wedding book, which I'll go through with you briefly now. So as you can see, there's a book here, so there's lots of pages. At the start, we've got some information about what the World Water Wedding is, and the key dates below, which we've already been through. And there's a bit of information about today, but you know about that because you're here. And then if you go to month of actions, you'll see that we've put together loads of resources here for all 3 days. We haven't got loads of time, so I'm just going to focus a little bit on the month of actions. But you can see here, if you go to some of the drop downs, there's much more information. For example, we've got links to all porpoise actions, lovely pun, which you might want to use with families, for example. And then pandemonium, we mentioned earlier, is about banging pans, making lots of noise. And the XR UK Rhythms band has actually put together a video with SOS, so you can learn how to SOS your pans together in a cacophony of noise. And there are some more spicy actions. So the dilemmas, for example, is about the citizen's arrest is about choosing people who you feel are threatening the water source. And then the dilemmas section links to this down below, where we're asking people to make a commitment to their water source or to prioritizing clean water, for example. If they don't commit, why won't they commit? If they do commit, then they can be held to account. And if they don't fulfill their promises, then perhaps you go back to the citizen's arrest option. There's a whole campaign of citizen's arrest going on at the moment that we can link in with. Meg mentioned trespass, and there's also we could trespass because, as mentioned already, there's a lot of rivers we don't have the rights to access. Right to Roam have loads of information about this. And then they don't all have to be spicy actions. So we've got Paint the Streets, for example, and we've created a stencil that you can use with chalk paint to go and mark all around your town or city to show people what's going to be happening. So loads and loads of information there. And again, at the bottom, we've got the legal guidance. So if you are going to plan a more spicy action, you will need to get in touch with XR Legal just to clarify everything there. If there's any more detailed questions about this, we can come back to this at the end. But just to leave time for questions. So now that you know what you're doing, there's a handy form that we've filled in, that we've got for you to fill in, so that you can use this to get your events onto the map and calendar. The form also allows you to ask for a variety of help from XR UK teams, such as action support and media and messaging. So the link's all over the Rebel Toolkit, and the online forms there, and you just have to fill in your details, and it'll link that onto the calendar and onto the map. So thank you so much for listening. We're really excited about this and about the creativity that allows people. We can't wait to see your amazing ideas, and everything that you come up with. Do remember to fill in that film, because as you know, what's the point of putting together something if no one knows about it? Also remember to tag the Dirty Water Campaign on Instagram and use hashtag World Water Wedding so that we can help share your happy news. You can also ask questions and share ideas, photos and videos in the Dirty Water chat and live content on Telegram. We'll now take any fishy questions you have, and if we do run out of time, we'll save the chat and add a Q&A to the Rebel Toolkit in the World Water Wedding chapter. So, I don't know if there are any questions. Are there a few already? Perfect. So, Meg, this is more of a question than a statement, but perhaps, Meg, you would like to add anything on this. A corporation has a personhood. Why doesn't a natural entity, do you think?
I guess we've had a long time, viewing our natural resources as resources, rather than something that is kin or that we could even consider being in relationship with. But if you look at many different indigenous practices and spiritual connections and different religions around the world, then Pachamama, or the earth is it's us, it's part of us. It's not something that we take from. It's something that we only give to, otherwise it will take us away. I think it's really interesting what happened back in the 1980s in the UK when Margaret Thatcher decided to just sell off and privatise our water system. And it's just really interesting thinking about England, especially what England's role was in the world in terms of colonization and going out on ships and taking over different parts of the world in horrible, brutal ways. And then for someone to come along and just sell our most vital, life-giving substance, which is water. When you think, what's the first thing that people look for when they go to another planet? It's water. We need it to bathe in, we need it to drink. If people say they don't have a spiritual relationship with water, they might feel like they don't, but we all do, because we need it on us and in us and around us all the time. But yeah, I'm not experienced enough to answer that question fully, because it's a big one.
Hazel from Calderdale also says this might be a silly question. I don't think it is, personally, but does the person getting married need to be single? And how does the commitment work long term?
Very good question. Yes. I was actually on a date last night, and they had seen my Instagram, and I just kept talking about my wedding dress and my marriage, and they accepted it. They knew they knew who I was before they went on a date with me. But it is something to consider. I always say that I'm in an open relationship with the river. And I guess if you are settling down with a partner that doesn't understand your love and desire and need to support water and the world, then maybe they're not the right partner for you. If they get jealous of you going for a swim, then that might be something you need to talk about with your partner. But no, I definitely think it's worth considering. I think it often helps to make a joke about it. and move on. You know, it can be as serious as you want it to be, the relationship. But like all relationships, a lot of it can happen in private. It doesn't all need to be public.
Thank you. Fanny asks whether we're looking for a sole person to commit to the waterway or a whole group of people could commit. It's whatever you want. So as a local group, if it would work for you to commit together or a group of friends, however it works for you. I think Meg would say it's a lot to take on your own. So perhaps sharing that responsibility would be a good idea.
And I think it also could build a sense of community. And I think also doing it en masse, you might well get more traction with the local media as well, the more of you do it in one go. So that would be two other reasons to do it in a group rather than singularly.
There is a group that married, I think it was about 50 women that married a different tree all along part of the Bristol harbour side, maybe about 6 or 7 years ago. I think it was before COVID, but yeah, I could try and find a link for you, but it was quite interesting watching because that bit of land was going to be developed, so they all married a tree. But obviously, yeah, if you do it in a group, that's different kinds of coordination, and then you might need someone that would take a bit of charge and responsibility. But for the most part, I definitely think it would be would take the pressure off. And I couldn't have organised my wedding without my dear friend and fellow pilgrim, Emily. I definitely didn't organise it all on my own. I did it pretty much in partnership with this one friend, and then invited my community in for support.
Lovely. Ned, I don't know if you want to take this one. Is it a problem if the engagement doesn't happen on the 24th? Could it be later in the month?
Yeah, it can be later in the month. I think the reason we're trying to do it all on one day is that the more people that do it on one day, the more likely media will pick it up and go, "Oh, what's this? Loads of people are getting wed to their water." But obviously you can do it when you want. I think the main thing is to try to plan for everybody to get together on the 22nd of March and do it that day next year, to actually do the wedding ceremonies, those commitment type of ceremonies. But just in terms of engagement, yeah, start on the 24th and just let everybody know that this is what you're planning on doing. And use the 28th of September as well. You could also announce your engagements on those days.
Sure. So Matthew says that they can't marry a river because they'd have to wear a suit, and suits should be banned as most of the baddies are men in suits. Does this look better for a woman? And I would say absolutely not. Whatever works for you. Wear whatever you like. There's no rules. Be creative. We have people getting married in fish suits in the middle of London. So there's really no end to the creativity here. Yeah. Fanny from Bournemouth, Christchurch, and Paul asks, oh, sorry, Ned, did you want to mention something?
No, I was going to answer Fanny's question.
Oh, yeah, sure. Says, will there be a template press release?
Yes, we've asked UK Media and Messaging to help us create the template press release. That will be on the Rebel Toolkit when it's ready. If not, you probably already, or some of you will already be aware that there is a press release page on the Rebel Toolkit on how to write a press release. So have a look at that resource that's already there, but we will get a template into the World Water wedding book as quickly as possible.
Alan asks, are there good creative examples of mapping rivers? This is a great question. So people can learn where their local water partner comes from and goes to, and identify any nearby rivers, culverted, etc., and maybe flood or drought maps in sickness and in health. Very much in sickness and in health. I don't know if either of you know the answer to that.
I don't know. I mean, maybe if Meg doesn't know, this is something we can research and then answer on the Rebel Toolkit.
There's also the spillages resource that could be shared there, so people are able to draw attention to that locally.
Yes, I think it would be great to have more maps of rivers and some more kind of notification of where they begin and end. And I think that's something that these weddings could be a part of, you know, is these different guardians coming forward and through that human connection to those different points along different waterways, those maps can start to be created. But yeah, maybe something to consider when designing your day.
Eric's also shared the River Trust State of Our Rivers link, which is a really useful link as well. Are there any other questions?
I think we're at time.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go.
Got a few minutes, yes.
Yeah, perfect. Excellent. Well, thank you everyone so much for your time. Did you want to go, Ned?
Yeah, just thank you everybody for coming along this evening. If you do have any more questions, please email dirtywatercampaign@proton.me. That will be in the follow-up email as well, in case you don't remember the email address. And I just want to say massive thank you to Meg for coming along and not only sharing her wonderful experiences, but also for working with Dirty Water and Extinction Rebellion. I'll pass to you, Meg.
Well, thanks so much. I've really enjoyed coming along today, and I'm really excited to see what happens next. And thanks for all the work you've put into putting this pack together. There's so much info in there, so much help. I wish it was there when I did my wedding. But yeah, looking forward to hearing from you. Please drop me a message, drop me an email, follow me on Instagram. Yes, excited to meet you all in the flesh someday, hopefully.
Perfect. Thanks, Meg. I'd echo what Ned said. Thanks very much for sharing your experience with us. It's really useful. We're going to play out with the Water Song. It was written by Irene Wawati Jerome for Grandfather William Commander's 2002 Circle of Nations gathering. This Algonquin Water Song expresses love and gratitude for the water and raises the consciousness and connection of women with Mother Nature's greatest gift. The song is really easy to learn, and the hope is that millions will sing it, raising their own connection and awareness to water. Excuse me. Even as they interact daily, even in the shower or at the sink, for example. It's sung 4 times, facing in each of the 4 directions, and the belief is that this is a powerful step to change, leading to both a spiritual as well as an environmental shift on our planet. It serves as a reminder of the interconnectedness of all things and the importance of respecting and protecting the natural world, particularly water. Thank you, everyone.
Granddaughter, the water can hear you. The water has memory. Nibi, Wabo, Endayan,
Nibi, Wabo, Endayan, Aki Misli, Nibi, Wabo, Heya, 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 Hey, Heya, 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 Oh.
Water is the life's blood of our mother, the earth. Water is the lifeblood of our own body.
Nibi, Wabo, Endayan, Aki Misli, Nibi, Wabo, Heya, 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 Hey, Heya, 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 Ho.
To continue to pass on the knowledge that needs to be given unto the other generations. You are the keeper of the water.
Nibi, Wabo, Endayan, Aki Misli, Nibi, Wabo, Heya, 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 Hey,
the change in this life condition that we're in, that great-grandchildren will stand up to this truth of what life is about and to live it in such an honorable way, the way ancestors came to this earth.
Nibi wabo endayan aki miskwi Nibi wabo heya 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 hey heya 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 ho.
Each day when the sun rises, no matter how bad the day before might have been, there's a new chance for your hopes and dreams. And I say, Chimigwech, thank you for singing the water song.
Nibi wabo endayan aki miskwi Nibi wabo heya heya